Wealth is not won by accident. It is not gifted by fortune, nor sustained by chance. It is captured, defended, and multiplied through the same laws that govern empires, armies, and crown. To grow richer than 99%, you must think not as a servant of circumstance, but as its master. First, you must understand that money is not merely currency, it is power disguised. Those who hold it bend the rules, shape the stage, and silence their rivals. If you wish to rise, see money as the armor and the weapon, not the reward. Second, do not seek approval, seek control. The masses crave applause, the rulers crave influence. The rich do not ask to be liked, they maneuver to be indispensable. Third, patience is sharper than aggression. The one who can wait while others exhaust themselves eventually harvests what they planted. Fortune favors the disciplined eye that knows when to strike and when to remain unseen. Fourth, appear modest while growing vast. The tiger hides in the tall grass before it leaps. To boast of wealth invites envy. To mask it invites security. Conceal your rise until it can no longer be stopped. Fifth, loyalty is a currency cheaper than gold, but stronger than contracts. Bind men to you with benefits, favors, and dependency. He who owes you his survival will protect your fortune more fiercely than his own. Sixth, betrayal is the shadow that follows success. Expect it, prepare for it, and profit from it. Every empire is betrayed from within. Only the prepared ruler survives to build anew. Seventh, ambition must be sharpened into strategy. Desire without plan is hunger without bread. Map your moves as a general maps his battlefield. Riches come not to the dreamer but to the tactician. Eighth, do not fear manipulation, fear being manipulated. Influence is the unseen hand that turns rivals into allies and allies into pawns. If you do not guide the perception of others, theirs will bind and weaken you. Ninth, power lies in scarcity. To flood the world with your presence diminishes your value. Appear rarely, speak less, deliver only what others cannot. What is scarce becomes precious, what is common becomes ignored. 10th, master the theater of appearances. Men judge not with reason but with eyes. Seem virtuous, seem generous, seem fearless while concealing the steel beneath the mask. Perception builds thrones, reality keeps them. 11th, learn the art of calculated cruelty. A single decisive strike is more merciful than 1,000 minor wounds. In money and in war, hesitation costs more than ruthlessness. 12th, fortune will test you with chaos. Most men break when the winds turn, but the Machiavellian mind bends the storm into profit. Crisis is the crucible in which new fortunes are forged. 13th, protect your wealth with walls both visible and invisible. Lawyers, networks, alliances, these are the fortresses of the modern prince. A fortune without defenses is already lost. 14th, never reveal your full ambition. The hunter who shows his arrow too soon loses the deer. Speak of moderation while pursuing conquest. Mask expansion as necessity. Cloak greed as prudence. 15th, remember always, the game never ends. Riches are not a finish line but a battlefield without truce. To rest is to surrender is to vanish. The wise do not ask when it ends, they learn to live as if it never does. Do this today. Think as the ruler, act as the strategist, move as the shadow, and you will rise above 99% of men. Wealth is not a dream, it is a conquest, and conquest waits for no one. First secret, money is power disguised. Money in itself is a symbol ink on paper, numbers in a ledger, pixels on a screen. Yet behind this symbol lies the essence of command. It is not bread you eat, nor the shelter you sleep under. It is the leverage that bends other men to bring you bread and build you shelter. Money is not wealth. Wealth is land, resources, labor, and loyalty. Money is the abstraction that allows you to command these without lifting a sword. To misunderstand this is to remain among the 99%, forever chasing the illusion while never holding the substance. Consider how power functions. Kings ruled not because of their crowns, but because their treasuries allowed them to fund soldiers, buy alliances, and reward loyalty. In our age, Nothing has changed. The battlefield has shifted from soil to screens, but the logic endures. The corporation that dominates is not the one with the best idea, but the one with the capital to crush rivals, to expand mercilessly, to absorb talent and silence dissent. Money is the fortress wall behind which power sleeps safely. Without it, even the boldest ambition collapses at the first siege. This is why you must learn to see every transaction not merely as gain or loss, but as movement within the theater of power. When you spend, you either strengthen your command or weaken it. When you invest, you are not buying numbers. You are buying the ability to bend reality toward your design. The man who saves without purpose hoards pebbles. The man who deploys with precision sharpens blades. Do not think of money as comfort. Think of it as influence stored in liquid form. To desire money for luxury is to waste its essence. To desire it for command is to understand its true nature. And here lies the first divide between rulers and ruled. The ruled consume. The rulers accumulate. The ruled buy symbols to display status. The rulers buy instruments to enforce it. The ruled work for wages. The rulers make wages work for them. If you would rise above the 99%, you must strip money of its false aura and see it naked. A tool, a weapon, a means to domination. It is not your master. It is your servant. But only if you bend it to your will. Second secret, do not seek approval. Seek control. The hunger for approval is the sickness of the weak. It chains men to the opinions of the crowd, forcing them to dance like marionettes for applause that fades the moment another performer steps onto the stage. Approval feeds the ego but never builds an empire. If you desire to be richer than 99%, you must abandon the pursuit of being liked and embrace the pursuit of being indispensable. Consider the machinery of society. It is governed not by admiration, but by necessity. The worker may despise his employer, yet he rises at dawn because his survival depends on that paycheck. The citizen may curse his government, yet he pays taxes because the penalties for resistance are too sharp. Approval is fragile. It bends with mood, rumor, and perception. Control endures. It forces obedience, even when hatred burns in the heart of the subject. Those who chase approval serve others. Those who secure control make others serve them. Wealth is no different. A man who seeks approval wastes resources on appearances, buying luxuries to impress those who envy him but contribute nothing to his power. He buys cars to be admired, clothes to be envied, houses to be praised. But what does this yield? Applause, envy, shallow desire, and nothing more. The man who seeks control spends not to dazzle but to dominate. He invests where others cannot compete. He builds systems others depend on. He creates levers that make men's survival hinge on his choices. This is the difference between the peacock and the hawk. One spreads feathers for attention, the other spreads wings for the kill. In business, you will face this divide daily. Do you shape your product, your company, your strategy to win the approval of the crowd? Or do you build a fortress that commands their reliance? The rich man understands that people do not need to like him to give him their money. They need only to need him. Approval is optional. Dependency is not. Even in personal life, this rule applies. Friends and allies may come to you with smiles and compliments, but their loyalty will vanish if your usefulness disappears. Do not confuse their approval for allegiance. Build instead a web of necessity. Make yourself the center of a network, the one who connects resources, opportunities, or knowledge that others cannot live without. Approval can be withdrawn at a whim. Necessity chains men even when they despise their chain. To seek approval is to surrender your fate to moods and gossip. To seek control is to take fate into your own hands. The applause of the crowd will never make you rich, but their dependency will. A man may be hated and still rule. A man may be loved and still fall. Which do you prefer? If you choose approval, you will remain among the ruled. If you choose control, you take the first true step toward sovereignty. Third secret, patience is sharper than aggression. Most men imagine power as speed, as the rapid strike, as the furious attack. They mistake noise for strength, movement for progress, impatience for ambition. Yet history reveals the opposite. The strongest rulers, the richest merchants, the most cunning princes are those who knew how to wait while others exhausted themselves. Patience is not passivity. It is a hidden blade kept sharp while enemies dull their own through haste. Consider war. The rash commander who hurls his army forward without calculation may win the first clash, but will lose the war to the one who holds back, studies the terrain, measures the enemy's hunger, and strikes at the moment of weakness. Aggression burns fuel quickly. Patience stores it for when it matters most. The rich understand this instinctively. They do not rush into every deal, every investment, every opportunity. They wait. They observe. They allow others to bleed their resources dry, then buy the carcass for pennies. Fortune, though fickle, rewards the eye that knows when to remain still and when to move with precision. In the pursuit of wealth, patience separates the gambler from the strategist. The gambler bets impulsively, intoxicated by the rush of risk. The strategist allows the gambler to lose again and again, then enters the game only when the outcome is nearly certain. This is how dynasties are built, not on constant motion, but on controlled timing. The 99% are slaves to immediacy. They seek quick profit, instant pleasure, fast recognition. They act without foresight, and their lives become a string of half-built ventures, abandoned projects, and wasted effort. The 1%, and especially the rulers among them, let impatience destroy their rivals while they quietly accumulate strength. Patience is also psychological warfare. In negotiations, silence unsettles the impatient man. He will reveal his weakness, simply to fill the void. In competition, restraint terrifies the hasty opponent. He suspects hidden strength where there may be none. The act of waiting creates an aura of inevitability, as if you are in command of time itself. And in truth, you are. For the patient man bends time to his favor, while the impatient man becomes its victim. Understand this: aggression exhausts your resources, exposes your strategy, and makes you predictable. Patience conserves your strength, conceals your plan, and allows you to strike where it hurts most. To be patient is not to be idle. It is to sharpen your blade while others swing theirs in vain. It is to watch quietly as your rivals spend their energy in noise and fury while you prepare the decisive blow. If you would rise above the 99%, learn to love waiting as much as striking. In business, let others rush to capture the fad. You wait to capture the foundation. In markets, let others chase the spike. You wait for the collapse. In life, let others hunger for applause today. You wait to own the stage tomorrow. Impatience will always belong to the desperate. Patience belongs to those who command. Fourth secret: appear modest while growing vast. Wealth attracts envy as surely as fire attracts moths. To reveal your fortune too early, too openly, is to invite forces that will conspire to diminish it. Envy, taxation, competition, betrayal all sharpen their blades when they see a prize worth cutting. This is why the wise ruler cloaks his expansion in modesty. He grows vast beneath the cover of humility, appearing harmless while his influence spreads invisibly like roots beneath the earth. Think of the tiger. When it hunts, it does not roar and charge. It crouches, silent, blending into the grass, hiding its strength until the moment comes to leap. The prey, thinking itself safe, wanders closer, then the strike is inescapable. So, must you move with wealth? Announce little, display less, conceal your ascent until it is too great to challenge. The man who brags about his success too soon awakens rivals. The man who masks his success until it is undeniable meets only submission. In society, appearances dictate safety. The merchant who drives the simple car while quietly owning half the city is untouchable, because no one sees him as a threat until it is too late. The entrepreneur who flaunts his gains becomes a target for regulators, competitors, and parasites. Even friends will turn restless when your success outshines theirs. Modesty is not virtue, here it is strategy. To seem modest while expanding endlessly is to disarm suspicion, to avoid envy, and to build in peace what others would have tried to destroy. But modesty alone is not enough. You must learn to weaponize it. Appear weaker than you are so rivals underestimate you. Appear satisfied while still hungering so others relax their guard. appear content with small gains while quietly seizing the foundations of larger ones. This theater of humility makes your rise invisible until it is irreversible. What others cannot see, they cannot oppose. By the time they awaken, they are already inside your net. Remember also, power revealed too early is brittle. It has not yet hardened against attack. Power hidden has the chance to mature, to solidify, to expand without pressure. The farmer does not shout about his harvest while the seeds are still underground. He waits until the fields are heavy with grain, and only then shows the world what cannot be undone. The same is true with wealth. Flaunt nothing in its infancy. Reveal only when your position is unassailable. To the 99%, wealth is a costume, jewelry, cars, mansions, brands. To the 1%, wealth is infrastructure systems, influence, alliances, control, and the greatest rulers of fortune wear modesty as their cloak, concealing their true reach until no force can oppose them. Do not confuse this with timidity. It is not weakness to appear small. It is strength disguised as insignificance. The mouse that goes unnoticed may grow into the lion that rules the savannah. So remember, your enemies cannot attack what they do not see. Appear modest, grow vast. Cloak your fire, sharpen your claws in silence, and let your rise be discovered only when it is already beyond stopping. Fifth secret. Loyalty is a currency cheaper than gold but stronger than contract. Gold can buy obedience for a moment, but loyalty can secure it for a lifetime. The rulers who rise beyond the reach of rivals understand this simple truth. Money persuades the hand, but loyalty binds the soul. And the cost of loyalty, when purchased wisely, is far less than the endless expense of force, fear, or bribery. To build wealth greater than 99% of men, you must not only accumulate resources, you must accumulate people whose interests are tied so closely to yours that they cannot rise without lifting you as well. Contracts are fragile. They bind only as long as they are enforced, and they crumble the moment enforcement weakens. A contract relies on law, on threat, on punishment. Loyalty, however, resides in dependency. The man whose livelihood depends on you will defend you even without ink on paper. The servant who believes his fate is tied to your fortune will protect your wealth more fiercely than he protects his own. This is not sentimentality, it is strategy. Build your empire not on paper, but on necessity. Look to the great merchants of history. Their clerks, their captains, their lieutenants, all lived not by their own independence, but by the favor of the master they served. This was no accident. The master gave them enough to survive, enough to taste reward, enough to bind their hopes to his continuing rise. And so long as their survival depended on him, they would fight to keep him strong. This principle has not vanished in the modern age. It has only changed form. Employees, partners, clients, allies, they all respond to loyalty and dependency more than to formal obligations. Contracts can be broken, but survival cannot be abandoned. Do not confuse loyalty with love. The loyal man does not necessarily admire you. He does not need to. Admiration can fade, but necessity endures. Tie others to you through advantage, through benefits they cannot obtain elsewhere. Make yourself the provider of opportunities they cannot live without, and their loyalty will not waver. A rival may offer them money, but he cannot replace the entire structure of dependency you have built. Of course, loyalty has its limits. It can be betrayed if neglected. To bind others to you, you must continually feed the chain with rewards, recognition, or access. Not in excess. Too much generosity breeds arrogance and ingratitude, but in calculated doses, enough to remind them that their fortune lies in your shadow. When loyalty is maintained, it costs far less than constant enforcement, and when betrayal does come, it will often come from those you neglected, not from those you bound tightly. Understand also the power of symbolic loyalty. Public gestures of trust, visible dependence, and shared risk weave chains stronger than invisible contracts. When your lieutenants are seen standing with you, when their prosperity is visibly tied to yours, betrayal becomes not only difficult, but dishonorable in the eyes of others. They know that to betray you is to betray themselves. Gold shines brightly, but slips easily through fingers. Loyalty, when cultivated as currency, multiplies itself endlessly. The rich man who knows only how to buy obedience spends endlessly to maintain it. The wise man who knows how to inspire loyalty spends little but secures much. If you would grow richer than 99%, remember this: loyalty is not free, but it is cheaper than gold, and when forged correctly, it will guard your fortune more faithfully than any law or contract ever could. Sixth secret: betrayal is the shadow that follows success. Where there is wealth, there is envy. Where there is power, there is ambition. And where there is success, betrayal walks closely behind. To be richer than 99% of men is not merely to gain possessions. It is to awaken enemies hidden among friends, to spark jealousy among allies, to create temptation in those bound to you. This is the inescapable truth. Betrayal is not an accident. It is the natural consequence of ascent. The naive ruler believes loyalty once gained will last forever. He assumes gratitude is eternal, that service once rewarded secures the heart of the servant. He is wrong. Gratitude fades quickly. Today's gift is tomorrow's expectation, and tomorrow's expectation becomes resentment if unmet. Even the loyal may turn disloyal when the scent of greater opportunity drifts from another direction. Thus, every man who rises must accept betrayal as inevitable. It is not a question of if, but when. The wise ruler does not despair. When betrayal comes, he calculates how to use it. There are two kinds of betrayal: the kind that destroys you and the kind that strengthens you. The first comes to those who are blind, who place trust without vigilance, who grant power without safeguards. They fall because they assumed fidelity would outlast temptation. The second comes to those who anticipate, who prepare, who design their structures so that the betrayer is exposed, punished, and replaced. In such cases, betrayal becomes a cleansing fire. It reveals weaknesses in the chain, exposes hidden rivals, and allows the ruler to tighten control. You must learn to read the signs. Betrayal never arrives unannounced. It grows in silence, in subtle changes of behavior, in the restless eye, in the ambition that no longer hides its hunger. The one who flatters excessively today may sharpen a dagger tomorrow. The one who grows suddenly distant may already be negotiating your downfall. It is the task of the ruler to notice these shadows before they become storms. Trust no man without limits. Even allies must be watched as if they were enemies waiting for a moment. But understand this: betrayal is not always to be resisted. At times, it is to be allowed. When you know a rival plots against you, sometimes the greater wisdom is to let him act, to watch him expose himself, to strike only after his intentions have become undeniable to all. In this way, betrayal strengthens your legitimacy. Your punishment of the traitor is then seen as justice, not cruelty. Others learn the cost of disloyalty not because you warned them, but because they witness the betrayer's fate. In wealth, betrayal often comes clothed as opportunity. The partner who suggests a deal behind your back, the ally who whispers with competitors, the trusted hand who begins building his own empire in the shadows. Resist the urge to act in blind anger. Betrayal is also intelligence. It shows you who was never truly yours, and it gives you the chance to replace them with someone whose chains are stronger. The lesson is clear. Betrayal cannot be avoided, but it can be managed. It is the shadow cast by success, and shadows cannot exist without light. To rise is to be betrayed. The question is whether you fall because of it or whether you turn it into the proof of your endurance. The ruler who survives betrayal emerges more feared, more respected, and more secure. The one who does not disappears. Which one you become depends not on loyalty, but on your preparation for its inevitable fracture. Seventh secret: ambition must be sharpened into strategy. Ambition alone is nothing but hunger, a restless fire that consumes itself when left without direction. Every man desires more money, more respect, more influence, more comfort. But desire without plan is weakness. It is the cry of the starving man who dreams of feasts but never learns to hunt. To be richer than 99% of men, ambition must be forged into strategy, just as raw iron must be smelted into steel. The masses mistake ambition for action. They chase every opportunity, lunge at every promise, pursue every trend. They scatter their strength across 10 pursuits and wonder why none succeed. This is not ambition sharpened. This is ambition dulled by frenzy. The ruler knows better. He understands that energy is finite. That focus is the blade which cuts through resistance. 100 scattered strikes will never equal one well-aimed thrust. Strategy is the art of turning desire into conquest by discipline, foresight, and order. Think of war. Armies without a plan are slaughtered, no matter how vast their numbers. Ambition without direction is the same. The general studies the terrain, anticipates the enemy's moves, secures supply lines, and strikes only where the victory is certain. So too must the man who seeks wealth study his market, anticipate rivals, secure resources, and act only when the ground favors him. The reckless will mock his slowness, but in the end, they will bleed while he consolidates power. Strategy requires sacrifice. You cannot pursue every path. To choose one campaign is to abandon another. Weak men cannot accept this. They want everything, and so they gain nothing. The disciplined ruler sacrifices smaller ambitions for the larger design. He gives up short-term gains for long-term supremacy. He knows that to hunt two deer at once is to lose both. Thus, he selects one, fixes his aim, and captures it fully. Ambition without strategy also blinds men to timing. They want success immediately, as if the world owes them its riches. But the strategist knows that even the ripest fruit must be plucked at the right moment, not before. He builds the foundation, prepares the stage, and waits for the instant when the strike secures not just profit, but dominance. This is why patient ambition conquers, while impatient ambition collapses. To sharpen ambition into strategy, you must learn 3 things: clarity of aim, discipline of effort, and precision of timing. Clarity of aim means knowing exactly what kind of wealth you seek, not vague dreams, but specific targets. Discipline of effort means resisting distraction, funneling all resources into the chosen campaign. Precision of timing means acting when the conditions are most favorable, not merely when you feel desire burning hottest. Together, these 3 transform raw hunger into inevitable victory. The 99% will live and die with ambition unsharpened. They will desire endlessly, attempt recklessly, and collapse repeatedly. The 1%, and especially those who rule among them, treat ambition not as fire, but as a blade. They hone it daily, shaping it into strategy, until every strike cuts cleanly, every effort compounds, and every campaign ends with territory gained. Ambition is the spark. Strategy is the sword. Without the spark, nothing begins. Without the sword, nothing is won. 8th secret: do not fear manipulation. Fear being manipulated. Most men recoil at the word manipulation as if it were poison. They imagine it to be deceit reserved only for villains, a corruption of natural virtue. This is the illusion of the weak, for in truth, manipulation is the oxygen of human affairs. Every advertisement, every speech, every negotiation, every gesture, all are attempts to influence perception, to shape behavior, to bend will. To fear manipulation is to fear the very air you breathe. To rise above 99%, you must not run from it, but master it. The true danger is not in manipulating, but in being manipulated without realizing it. Understand this: men do not see the world as it is, they see it as it appears. Perception governs reality. A general who convinces his enemy he is weak gains the advantage even before battle begins. A merchant who persuades customers his product is scarce will sell more than the one who offers abundance. A politician who appears virtuous may be corrupt to the bone, yet wins loyalty because men cling to appearances, not truths. Manipulation is the shaping of appearances, and appearances rule the world. The naive man cries for honesty. He demands the world to be what it seems, but his demand is ignored by those who understand the game. While he insists on fairness, he is quietly outmaneuvered by those who paint illusions, frame narratives, and direct emotions to their advantage. He becomes prey, not player. For in every exchange of life, either you are shaping perception, or perception is shaping you. Either you manipulate, or you are manipulated. There is no neutrality. To manipulate effectively, You must learn to speak not to reason, but to instinct. Men justify with reason, but decide with feeling. They are moved by fear, by hope, by envy, by desire for belonging. The richest among us play on these instincts with precision. They do not sell products, they sell status, safety, power, or pleasure. They do not win arguments, they win emotions, then drape them in the illusion of logic. But mastery of manipulation does not mean reckless deceit. Lies without calculation destroy trust. The ruler uses manipulation as a surgeon uses a scalpel carefully, precisely, with purpose. He bends perception to secure order, to inspire loyalty, to disarm enemies. His manipulations are not random falsehoods, but carefully chosen illusions that sustain his power. And if the illusion cracks, he has another prepared to replace it before his rivals strike. The true danger lies not in your manipulation of others, but in theirs of you. For every marketplace, every boardroom, every screen is a battlefield of perception. Politicians seek to bind you with promises. Corporations seek to enslave you with images. Rivals seek to entangle you with flattering lies. If you are unaware, you will serve their designs without protest. The masses live their entire lives as puppets, their strings pulled by those who understood the game. They believe themselves free, while every choice they make has been engineered. To rise above the 99%, you must cut your own strings and seize the puppeteer's hand. Do not fear the whispers of manipulation, expect them, study them, master them. Fear only blindness, for blindness is the truest slavery. When you command perception, you command reality. And reality, like fortune, belongs not to the honest, but to the cunning. Ninth secret: power lies in scarcity. The world worships what it cannot easily have. The rare stone becomes more prized than the common gold. The limited object inspires frenzy, while the abundant is ignored. Scarcity is not merely an economic principle, it is the foundation of power itself. To be richer than 99% of men, you must learn to wield scarcity as both weapon and shield. You must understand that your presence, your wealth, your influence all gain value when they are not freely available. Men are ruled by perception, and perception is ruled by contrast. What is scarce seems precious. What is common feels disposable. The merchant who floods the market lowers his price, no matter how fine his goods. The ruler who speaks too often diminishes the weight of his words. The man who is too available loses the allure of mystery, and with it, respect. If you wish to rise, discipline yourself to resist the instinct to over-display, over-give, overexpose. True strength hides behind a veil. In business, scarcity drives demand. The company that releases a limited product, that withholds supply, that creates waiting lists, does not diminish profit, it multiplies it. People crave not only the object, but the status of being among the few to possess it. The wise understand that men do not buy things. They buy symbols of exclusivity. In wealth, as in rule, you must design your moves to appear rare, offer less than you can give, appear less than you are worth, withhold until others compete to draw closer. But scarcity applies not only to goods, it applies to yourself. If you are always accessible, always present, always eager, you will be taken for granted. The ruler is not loved because he is seen daily. He is revered because his presence is rare and his audience is privilege. So too must you learn to ration your availability. Appear seldom, but when you appear, make it unforgettable. Withhold your counsel until your words are sought with desperation. This is not arrogance, it is strategy. Scarcity breeds demand, and demand breeds power. Scarcity also sharpens fear. The army with limited mercy is feared more than the one with endless forgiveness. The lender who rarely extends credit is respected more than the one who gives it freely. The leader who withholds his approval forces his followers to compete for it. When your favor is scarce, men will labor furiously for a glimpse of it. When your resources are scarce, their value multiplies. Scarcity turns ordinary things into instruments of control. Yet be warned, scarcity without strength becomes irrelevance. If you withdraw too far, the world forgets you. If you withhold without foundation, men move on. Scarcity must be paired with power, just as the hidden blade must be sharp when revealed. The art is not to vanish, but to appear sparingly, to ration access, to make every appearance count. The masses drown themselves in abundance. They talk endlessly, share everything, expose every move. They crave attention, and in doing so, they make themselves cheap. The ruler learns to silence himself, to cloak his moves, to appear not when he is ready, but when others are starving for him. He understands that power lies not in being everywhere, but in being scarce and irreplaceable. The lesson is simple. What is common is ignored. What is scarce is worshipped. If you want to rise above 99%, make yourself scarce where others are abundant. Limit your presence, limit your gifts, limit your access. In that limitation, your value will expand until men compete for what you grant so sparingly. Scarcity is the root of demand, and demand is the root of power. 10th secret: master the theater of appearances. Men do not see with reason, they see with eyes. They do not follow truth, they follow the image of truth. This is why appearances govern the world more than reality ever does. A ruler who looks strong will be obeyed, even if he trembles in secret. A merchant who looks prosperous will attract more clients, even if his books are weak. A man who seems virtuous will be trusted, even if his soul is corrupt. Wealth, power, and survival depend less on what is, and more on what seems. To be richer than 99%, you must not only master substance, you must master appearance. The masses are actors without knowing it. They spend endlessly on costumes of wealth, luxury cars, gilded watches, houses too large for their needs. They do not seek power, only admiration. But admiration fades quickly when reality intrudes. Their theater is shallow. The ruler, however, builds a theater of depth. He controls not only how he appears, but how others are allowed to see him. Every gesture, every silence, every display is calculated to create a story, and that story becomes more powerful than truth itself. Consider politics. Men rarely vote for the most capable leader. They vote for the most convincing performance, the tone of voice, the costume of confidence, the staged humility, the rehearsed outrage, all theater, and yet theater that decides nations. In business, the same rule applies. Investors do not give money to numbers alone. They give money to the appearance of inevitability. Customers do not buy products for utility alone. They buy the theater of lifestyle, prestige, and belonging. Appearances frame perception, and perception becomes reality. To master appearances, you must learn to wear masks. There is the mask of virtue, to appear just, merciful, honest, even when you act with ruthlessness. There is the mask of strength, to appear calm in chaos, unshaken in crisis, even when doubt claws at you within. There is the mask of generosity, to appear as though you give freely, while every gift binds the receiver more tightly to you. These masks are not lies, they are armor. They protect you from envy, suspicion, and rebellion. But mastery requires balance. If your theater is too extravagant, men will see through it. If too modest, they will dismiss you. Appearances must be believable enough to comfort the crowd, but formidable enough to command them. The ruler designs his own myth, a story others repeat even in his absence, and myths, once established, outlive truth. Understand, reality can be corrected, but perception rarely is. If you fail in reality but maintain the appearance of strength, others will hesitate to strike. If you succeed in reality but appear weak, others will strike without fear. Appearances are the shield that buys you time, the curtain that hides your strategy, the stage upon which your true work unfolds unseen. The mistake of the 99% is to despise appearances, to think reality alone is enough. They declare, "I am what I am," as if naked truth guarantees survival. But the world does not reward nakedness. It rewards the mask, the costume, the theater. The wise ruler knows that life is a stage, and he is both actor and director. He crafts appearances with precision until even rivals believe the script he has written. So remember, appearances rule perception, perception rules behavior, and behavior shapes reality. To master appearances is to master power itself. Truth alone is powerless if it looks weak, but even falsehood, dressed with conviction, can rule the world. 11th secret: Learn the art of calculated cruelty. Cruelty, when undisciplined, destroys its master. But cruelty, when measured and deliberate, can secure power with more efficiency than endless kindness. To be richer than 99%, you must understand that hesitation is often costlier than a single decisive strike. Mercy wins affection, but it also breeds entitlement. When men believe you will always forgive, they grow reckless. When they believe you will never act ruthlessly, they test your boundaries. The ruler who tolerates too much is eventually devoured by those who mistake his patience for weakness. Better to wound once, sharply, than to bleed slowly from 1,000 small cuts. Calculated cruelty does not mean savagery. It means knowing when and where to inflict pain so that others never again dare to challenge you. It means punishing betrayal swiftly and visibly, not out of anger, but as a warning to all. The cruelty of one act can prevent the chaos of many. The harshness of a single judgment can maintain order for years. Consider wealth. A businessman who cuts off failing partners or eliminates waste ruthlessly may be called cruel. Yet by doing so, he secures survival for all who remain. To delay, to soften, to avoid unpleasant decisions is to let rot spread until the entire structure collapses. The key is precision. Too much cruelty breeds rebellion. Too little breeds contempt. The ruler strikes rarely, but when he does, it is final, unmistakable, and unforgettable. Men remember fear longer than kindness, and fear, when balanced with respect, is a stronger guardian of fortune than love alone. So learn this art. To strike once, not endlessly. To strike clearly, not blindly. Mercy without limit weakens. Cruelty without measure destroys. But cruelty calculated, that is power perfected. 12th secret. Fortune will test you with chaos. Fortune is not loyal. It is a shifting tide, a storm that wrecks some ships and carries others to new shores. To be richer than 99%, you must not curse chaos, but harness it. For in the wreckage of others lies your opportunity. Most men collapse when disorder strikes. A market crashes, a business fails, a system unravels, and they retreat into fear. But the ruler studies the storm. He knows that crisis breaks the weak and opens space for the strong. When others panic, he plans. When others flee, he advances. Fortune does not favor those who beg for stability. It favors those who thrive in disorder. Chaos is the crucible of reinvention. Entire fortunes are born not in times of peace, but in collapse. The great merchant seizes bankrupt competitors. The strategist buys when prices burn. The bold ruler recruits followers abandoned by broken masters. Where others see ruin, he sees building materials. Yet Shao's demands preparation. You cannot improvise courage when the storm arrives. You must already have discipline, reserves, and clarity. The unprepared drown. The prepared bend chaos into profit. Think of it as fire. Uncontrolled, it consumes. Controlled, it forges steel. Therefore, train yourself not to fear the collapse of order. Expect it, study it, use it, for fortune will always test you with chaos. Most men pray for calm seas. The few who master storms rise as kings of the ocean. 13th secret. Protect your wealth with walls, both visible and invisible. What is gained can always be taken, unless it is defended. Wealth without protection is an open gate that invites conquest. To be richer than 99%, you must not only build fortune, but also fortify it with walls that can be seen and walls that cannot. The visible wall is the most obvious. Legal structures, contracts, protections of ownership. Corporations shield the individual. Trusts shield the heir. Patents shield the creation. These visible defenses discourage petty thieves and casual rivals. Yet visible walls alone are never enough, for the strongest walls attract the strongest siege. Thus, the invisible walls are more powerful. These are alliances, dependencies, networks of obligation that cannot be stormed by force. A man surrounded by allies who benefit from his survival is safer than a man who relies only on documents and locks. To protect wealth invisibly is to weave yourself so tightly into the fabric of others' success that to attack you is to wound them. This is why rulers form marriages of state. why corporations form partnerships, why wealthy men sponsor institutions. Each alliance becomes a hidden wall. There is also the wall of obscurity. The fortune concealed is often safer than the fortune displayed. The world cannot steal what it does not know exists. The modest facade, the deliberate underestimation of your resources, serves as a shield more reliable than any fortress. A hidden reserve is a hidden sword, drawn only when needed. But walls are not only for defense, they are also instruments of control. Those inside your walls depend on you. Those outside see you as unreachable. By controlling who enters and who remains outside, you shape power itself. Wealth without walls leaks away. Wealth with walls grows because it is secure enough to compound without interruption. The mistake of the 99% is to build no defenses. They gain, they lose, they gain again, always vulnerable, always exposed. The ruler, however, never rests on gain without fortification. He knows that the conquest is only half the task, the keeping is the other half. So build your walls, some in stone, some in law, some in silence, some in loyalty. Make them visible enough to warn off the weak, invisible enough to trap the strong. For wealth without walls is fortune on borrowed time. Wealth with walls is dynasty. 14th secret: never reveal your full ambition. The greatest danger to rising men is not lack of ability, but excess of exposure. When you reveal the full scope of your ambition, you awaken envy, resistance, and fear long before your strength is sufficient to overcome them. To be richer than 99%, you must cloak your hunger beneath the appearance of moderation. A hunter who raises his bow too early alerts the deer. A commander who shows his plans before his army is ready invites sabotage. Likewise, the ambitious man who speaks too openly of conquest will be cut down by rivals who sense danger. Concealment is not cowardice, it is strategy. Speak of stability while you pursue expansion. Pretend to be content while you lay foundations. Appear cautious while you take bold steps in silence. When men believe you want little, they relax. When they relax, you move further. Ambition revealed is a target. Ambition concealed is a weapon. There is also protection in disguise. The man who claims modest goals will rarely be opposed. He gathers strength while others ignore him. By the time his ambition is visible, it is too late to stop him. This is how dynasties rise, quietly, invisibly, beneath the noise of lesser men. The mistake of the 99% is to boast of dreams they cannot yet defend. They invite mockery, sabotage, and envy. The ruler never reveals the full extent of his hunger until the feast is already served, and none can deny his claim. So let your ambition burn privately, while you cloak it publicly. Let rivals underestimate you. Let allies believe you harmless. When your ambition is revealed, let it be not as a dream, but as a reality already won. 15th secret: the game never ends. The pursuit of wealth is not a finish line. It is a battlefield without truce. To believe there is a point of rest, a final victory, is to invite ruin. For the moment you stop moving, rivals advance, systems shift, and fortune flows elsewhere. To be richer than 99%, you must abandon the fantasy of a rival. Wealth is not a destination. It is a perpetual campaign. This truth separates rulers from dreamers. The dreamer thinks, once I reach this sum, I will rest. The ruler knows, once I reach this sum, I must protect it, expand it, defend it again tomorrow. Just as kingdoms crumble when kings grow complacent, fortunes decay when their masters become idle. The gold you guard today may be worth half tomorrow. The allies who serve you today may betray you at dawn. Endurance, therefore, is the rarest quality. Not brilliance, not luck, not even boldness, but the capacity to remain vigilant when others tire. Wealth belongs not to those who merely win once, but to those who never stop preparing for the next contest. Do not resent this endlessness. Embrace it, for the game itself is life. Struggle, conquest, defense, renewal. The ones who long for peace never rise beyond mediocrity. The ones who thrive in the unending game, who find strength in its repetition, ascend where others fall. So remember this final law: the game never ends. Do not seek to finish it. Seek instead to play it better, longer, and with greater command than all others. For only then will you rise, not merely among the rich, but among the rulers of fortune itself. Now you have seen the secret's 15 weapons forged in the fire of power, each one a blade, a shield, a strategy. They are not gentle truths. They do not flatter. They do not comfort. They cut, because only sharpness endures. Wealth, like rule, is never granted freely. It is seized, guarded, multiplied. And those who rise beyond 99% do so not by chance or by virtue, but by understanding the laws that govern men and bending those laws to their own survival. Understand this clearly. The game of wealth is not about fairness. It is about perception, control, timing, discipline, and the ruthless use of necessity. The crowd clings to ideals of justice, equality, and chance. But rulers know the stage is tilted, the dice are loaded, and the pieces are already in play long before the masses even notice the board. To step onto this field as if it were fair is to be slaughtered. To step onto it with eyes sharpened, with strategies honed, is to survive and to command. Do not imagine these laws as abstract. They breathe in every transaction, every alliance, every betrayal. They exist in the boardroom as in the battlefield, in the marketplace as in the court. The faces may change, the tools may modernize, but the human instincts beneath envy, fear, loyalty, ambition, weakness are eternal. To rise above others, you must not deny these instincts. You must wield them. But here lies the final truth. To embrace these principles is to accept exile from the illusions of the many. The 99% will never understand you. They will call you ruthless, manipulative, cold, and perhaps you will be. For greatness does not wear the mask of kindness for its own sake. Greatness wears whatever mask secures its reign. The ruler who seeks applause will be devoured by those he sought to please. The ruler who seeks command will be remembered long after the applause has faded. And so the choice stands before you. To remain in the safety of the crowd, governed by illusions, at the mercy of chance, or to step into the cold machinery of reality, to see men as they are, and to claim what others are too timid to reach for. Do not mistake this for an easy path. It demands vigilance. It demands sacrifice. It demands that you trade comfort for clarity, approval for control, short pleasures for lasting command. Yet if you choose it, you will discover what only a few ever do, that wealth is not just possession. Wealth is dominion. Remember this as you leave. The game never ends. You are not finished. The battlefield of fortune stretches beyond sight, and only those who march with discipline, who strike with precision, who conceal their rise until it is unstoppable, will stand upon its highest ground. If you would rule your fortune rather than be ruled by it, if you would rise richer than 99%, then let these laws be your armor, your weapon, and your compass. Do this today. Begin the conquest, and never forget fortune bows only to those who command it.